Yeah, we really haven't gotten into a lot how this happened in the first place or what the motive would be for the U.S. government to try to get United States automatic weapons in the hands of Mexican drug cartels. And it's very horrible what happened to Brian Terry, I would suppose, given the zeal with which they were pursuing this. I suppose there are a variety of Mexican individuals who wound up, unknown Mexican individuals who wound up being killed today as the result of the actions of the United States government. Do you think that's accurate? Say, Mr. Heyer?
I think that's a fair assumption.
Yeah, has the Obama administration or anybody connected with that administration apologized to the Mexican government for trying to get automatic weapons down to the Mexican drug cartels, as far as you're aware?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, my goodness. Well, somebody ought to apologize to them. Do you know, because you've followed this as much as anybody, Mr. Heyer, what would be the motivation to try to get American automatic weapons in the hands of drug cartels? Why was it why did some people in the American government think it was in our interest to make sure the Mexican drug cartels were armed to the teeth?
Well, as I understand it, there were different ideas. From the Phoenix Field Division, their goal, as I understand it, were to ultimately be able to take down a Mexican drug cartel, the leadership of the cartel. How that was supposed to happen, I really don't know. All we knew was the first part. They were going to let weapons walk to straw buyers working for the cartel. In the bigger picture, with respect to the previous administration, I don't know. Was it to build some sort of apprehension to automatic weapons? To strengthen gun laws? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, people out there throw around the idea that the hatred of the Second Amendment was so great in the prior administration that they wanted, you know, people killed with or people, they wanted to look like we had a crisis of automatic weapons here in the United States. Now, Eric Holder certainly was not very helpful to this group. We held him contempt in Congress. Could you just, in general, give us your opinion of the degree to which Eric Holder tried to help this investigation and the degree to which he tried to stand in the way of finding out what was really going on here?
Well, I spoke earlier about our frustration in every aspect in dealing with the Department of Justice, and that continued not only with Eric Holder, but his predecessor. Letters went unanswered, requests for information went unanswered, and again,
so it appears that he really didn't want to get to the bottom. He was willing to cover up.
Well, when it came to the Terry family, I believe they saw us as a nuisance.
Okay. I mean, if, you know, I would think most people, if they were president, you know, then they would get involved and say, hey, I got a real problem here. Did you see the Obama administration step up and do anything about this?
Again,
nothing.
You know, we really felt like we were on our own, and with the exception of this committee and the really providing the only information beyond what journalists were providing, that was our sole source of accurate information with regard to Brian's death and the circumstances around his death.
Okay, now we should see what happened to Eric Holder here. I was just kind of Googling him, and maybe you know what's going on. It looks like after he left public service, he was rewarded by working at Covington and Burling, a very, you know, top of the line, I don't know what his compensation is there, but top of the line kind of liberal leaning law firm here in Washington. Does that bother you when you see people like Special Agent Dodson, his career kind of stalls because he cares about the people and cares about the future of this country, but somebody who, you know, gets in the way of this investigation, such a big problem, is rewarded by the left-leaning establishment here in town by getting a job with a big law firm?
Well, it's not only just the rewards, it was the lack of accountability. And I spoke earlier today about the numerous officials that were allowed to leave their positions within top DOJ positions that were able to leave and move into the private sector, just like Lanny Brewer, just like Eric Holder. It was the lack of holding individuals accountable, like those senior ATF headquartered individuals that were allowed to retire with full pensions.
Okay, just one other thing, and I know I'm a little bit older. I just hope this committee and whoever the new committee chairman is does what they can to make sure this is written in the history books. You know, sometimes, you know, they say the winners write the history books, and sometimes horrific things happen, and they just disappear into the ether, and future generations will never know about it. I mean, to me, the Fast and Furious scandal, this should be something, you know, actually worse than Teapot Dome. I mean, you know, this should be one of the greatest scandals in American history, and I hope this committee does all they can so that people in the future always know the name of Eric Holder and know how little was done by this administration after they participated, for whatever motivation, in trying to get automatic weapons in the hands of the drug cartels. I'd like to thank you, Mrs. Terry, for showing up. I'd like to thank you, Special Agent Dodson. I mean, I know you're, I'm sure, financially not as well off as you'd be if you had just, you know, kept your head down and shut up and da-da-da-da-da. But of course, I'm sure your reward is greater because, you know, you're on the side of the angels as opposed to a lot of those other people who are just grabbing the cash. Thanks much.
I thank the gentleman.